Whether it's for a moment, a mile, or a marathon, Brooks knows that when we move together, we become something bigger than ourselves. That's the power of connection. And no matter where you are in the world, running can help you find your people. So let's lace up and start sharing more than the road. Let's share our stories, our motivations, and our passions. Because connection doesn't just help push us forward, it can help lift us up. Let's run there. Learn more at brooksrunning.com.
The World Cup is back and Football Weekly is going daily. From the goals and the glory to the politics and the problems, join me, Max Rushton, and our expert panel every day of the tournament. World Cup Daily, listen on Spotify now and watch the full episodes on YouTube.
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to this edition of There Can Only Be One, the podcast that puts together the all-star best-of playlists of your favorite bands and artists. Hello to all of our listeners in Novato, California, and around the world. How the heck are you guys doing? Okay, I know that we do occasionally have listeners from Australia. So, dear listeners, this one goes out to you because we're covering one of your very own. We're covering the band Tonight Alive. And here to join me, Joseph Whalen's back on the show. Dude, how are you doing, man?
Hey, Jason, I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here. And yeah, this is going to be a very interesting episode. As we were just talking about, this is one of, I think, 2 times where you've suggested a band to me that I really didn't know all that much about. And so then this was like a very deep dive into something I didn't really know, which is great. And man, Australia, like, what else are you hiding from us?
Now,
well, from me specifically.
Now, to be fair, most of the bands I listen to, no one's ever heard of. So that's not an uncommon situation to potentially have by coming onto this show. But I mean, you were on the episode where we covered the entire Paramore discography. Mm-hmm. And of course, people are going to draw comparisons from Tonight Alive to Paramore because the sounds are very similar. So being a Paramore fan, jumping into this, what was your initial thoughts? Without spoiling anything yet, what were your initial thoughts going into this discography?
Well, it's right there on Front Street. Like, first album we get into, it's like, okay, yeah, like this sounds a lot like Hayley Williams, and all of the entire package is very much similar to some of the stuff that you would get from earlier Paramore. So I was struck by that, and I had that expectation given the sort of little tidbits of information you had passed along to me before I'd even started listening to them. So yeah, I mean, being somebody that loves Paramore, loves Hayley Williams, like the transition into this discography, pretty easy, pretty seamless, all things considered.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to get this out of the way right now because I want to spend the rest of the show just talking about Tonight Alive and not their Paramore comparisons. But this is Australia saying, we have Paramore at home. It's called Tonight Alive. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through 5 albums and EPs. We are not actually covering the All Shapes and Disguises EP and the Let It Land EP. Now, All Shapes and Disguises, most of those songs do appear on later albums. And Let It Land, it's only 2 songs with a bunch of acoustic versions. So, you know, we're not going to go with the 50-50 one here, but we're also not going to be including their song The Edge, which was actually their only song to chart, hitting number 78 in Australia and number 1 on the UK rock charts, because that appeared on the soundtrack to The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and by the rules of the show, that doesn't qualify. We're also not going to be covering Jenny McDougall's solo project, Heaven She, but you know what? Go out and listen to it. It's really, really good. But we're going to start with Consider This, the EP released November 12th, 2010, and then November 8th, 2011 in the US. The band at this point is Jenny McDougall, Cameron Adler, Matt Best, Jake Hardy, and Wakeo Tahi. Now, I apologize if I messed up any names. I do try. There was one single off of this one, Wasting Away. And let me tell you, I'm going to get this right off the bat. First song on the disc, Wasting Away. This is it. This is my pick off this disc. Right off the bat, they grab you by the throat and hold you in a chokehold because you're not getting away with this one. Holy crap. What a ton of ferocity off your pretty much introduction. This is the how you doing? We're going to knock your socks off.
Jason, typically, I like to have a bit of a differing viewpoint from you on these, and we're obviously we don't discuss our picks or anything like that, but it's just kind of nice when it happens that way. But it's also very fun when we're in lockstep, and we're absolutely in lockstep here because this is like, holy crap, man. Like, this is like my first, all I wrote down was, oh yeah, this is the good stuff. Like, this is the good stuff right here. Just too busy waiting for nothing and wasting away. Felt that. That's a great lyric. And then there's great tunes on this disc. I mean, my favorite thing, I swore to use my head before I used my heart. And that's where, Jason, I really felt the Paramore, because like lyrically, that feels like a conversation from That's What You Get When You Let Your Heart Win, right? Like that's basically like you're kind of having like if Jenna McDougall and Hayley Williams had a conversation about just that entire exchange of That's What You Get When You Let Your Heart Win, and then Jenna saying, I swore to use my head before I use my heart. Like, yeah, they're right there. But Wasting Away. Holy crap. You're absolutely right. It just grabs you. There's no other way about it.
And the funny thing, too, is that this song was only released on the re-release of the EP. So the original release was only 3 songs: Revenge and Its Thrills, Thank You and Good Night, and 5 Years, which I actually had on my short list. So they added Invincible, which was the last track on the re-release, and Wasted Away, which kicked things off. But holy crap, I'm kind of glad we waited to cover this band, because it would have been 5 years if we were covering the original release, but this is a monster EP to kind of say, hey, how you doing to the world?
Absolutely. I mean, I think Revenge and Its Thrills was also like, it had some sick guitar parts right around the hook. Like, all these songs, pretty solid. So, I mean, yeah, you're talking about a really great way to get underway here.
Next up is What Are You So Scared Of? This is their debut studio-length album, released October 14th, 2011. Hit number 7 on the US Heatseeker charts and number 15 in Australia. There were 3 singles off of this one: Starlight, Let It Land, and Listening. So now we got a full-on disc, full release. Your thoughts and your pick?
Yeah, this was first of all, like, again, where we're talking about how the initial EP had you with Wasting Away, like just grabbing you right away, basically. Eject, eject, eject for a different reason. Like, that's a super like cinematic opening. So already I'm very much in the headspace of like really just wanting to hear where this is going to go. So I was really interested in that. And then you go to Breaking and Entering, where again, very Hayley Williams-y, like just like, so like, and I'm not going to keep harping on that, but that's the note that I had written there. And it shows up less and less in my notes as it goes. But yeah, I mean, overall, just a solid album. And Let It Land was my pick here because a really nice hook, like beautiful vocals from Jenna. Guitars on point, great ensemble performance. The drums in the outro, I loved. I'm always a keen ear for drums, Jason. Much like you are for bass, I am for drums. That's kind of the way that I listen. But Amelia, right after that. And I was looking up, unable to find any articles about this song, but it seems like a really beautiful personal tribute to a friend that was gone too soon. And I don't know if that was of Jenna's or of someone else in the band, but still, like, that was a very just a solid listen and a painful story to hear if that's what the song is about. But I loved the opening of that song, and then it gets into a little bit of the heavier stuff, and then Thank You, Good Night, man. Mark Hoppus, is that how you say his name?
Yeah,
Jason?
it is. Yeah.
Okay, Mark Hoppus. I've seen the name written so many times from Blink-182. I've never attempted to say it, but I loved the vocal exchanges between him and Jenna. They were solid. So I really like this album, and Let It Land was my pick because it is an absolute earworm.
You know what's funny? As I did like Let It Land, but it didn't even make my short list.
Oh, here we go.
I have to fully admit here, I did listen to the deluxe edition of this album that was on Spotify. And I'm glad I did, because my pick actually comes from one of the bonus tracks off of this. I ended up going with Welcome as my pick.
Oh.
So, getting a little deeper into this. I had Sure as Hell, Starlight, and Amelia on my set list. But I won't say set list, on my short list. See, this is what happens when you're a musician. You start confusing things and the terminology just crosses over. I mean, if I was in a band that played some Tonight Alive and Welcome was on there, I'd put it in my set list. Don't get me wrong.
You put it in there.
Exactly. Yeah. Tonight Alive tribute band, Welcome would be in the set list. There you go.
And Jason, lead singer.
Yeah, I am not hitting some of these notes, but I do want to give Jane McDougal credit here. Like hitting that rise on the first line of the chorus is not easy, right? She has some, for lack of a better term, vocal gymnastic ability, because she's hitting some notes in here and some changes that I'm like, dang, girl.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's funny you mentioned the drums, right? Because I actually love the tom breakdown during the bridge on this. And obviously Tonight Alive, especially in these earlier albums, they're built as a festival band. They're built as like a crowd pleaser. Like you could almost see the bop, the bounce in the crowd as a lot of these songs are kicking in. I mean, it's not to say that the rest of the album, and of course I listened to the US release because to my knowledge, Welcome is not on the Australian release. So this is just one of those iTunes bonus editions that ends up on Spotify as things evolve down the road. But I mean, I was surprised that Welcome wasn't on the original release. This is a monster track.
Honestly, Jason, I have to tell you, like I listened to the deluxe too, and then maybe by the point I got there, I was already just so set on Let It Land that I was just like, maybe I overlooked it near the end of that record. So I'll have to go back and listen to it again. Yeah. Because that's one that so I will take your word for it on that. But you're absolutely right, though, about them being like a festival. Like, honestly, I can hear these songs and then just see like beach balls, like sort of floating around, like people batting up beach balls in like a large festival crowd or something. Like, yeah absolutely.
I mean, I think they have played the When We Were Young festival. They have toured the US.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's like kind of tailor made for them as well. Like you could see, if ever you had a touring lineup that was Paramore, Tonight Alive, and Against the Current, because all three bands would absolutely freaking slay that tour together. Like that would just be like an ear candy festival lineup right there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm there in a minute, Jason.
Right? Just literally take my money. Make that tour happen and take my money. But come to Canada.
I'll fund it. I'll fund it with my non-existent.
I was about to say, you're going to fund that tour? Like,
yeah.
You've been holding out on me here?
I don't have any.
I have 3 sets of Monopoly money. It's not going to cover anything.
There's some Canadian Tire money in my closet somewhere, I'm sure.
That's the most Canadian thing we've said on the show. We have covered Canadian artists. I think that right there, when we're covering an Australian band, is the most Canadian. I don't want to have to explain Canadian Tire money to any Australian listeners. So please just look it up. Look up Canadian Tire money and just know that every household somewhere has like and it has to be like a tobacco tin full of Canadian Tire money.
Bundled up wad of Canadian Tire money that's collected dust since the early 2000s.
Right. That you're never going to use. Just be honest. You're never going to use it.
Oh, God, no.
You collect it, you tuck it away, and you're never actually going to use it until the one day where you're like, what the hell is it? Oh, I'm rich. And then, oh, no, it's Canadian Tire money. You say the blue bills and the green bills, right? And all of a sudden you're planning your world domination, and you look, it's like 5 cents, 20 cents. Damn it. Canadian Tire money.
Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Here's a little tune to help you remember. Same drive, different day. Don't you wish you were getting away? Pack your bags and come on through. Texas, Ohio, Alaska, we're up there too. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Well, I hope you like my little song. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Yes! Yes! A Lego set is a gift that always clicks. And clicks. Ooh, ooh, and clicks. For kids who love to save the day, choose a Lego set. A gift that always clicks.
Need a laptop that's built to perform and designed to last all day? Select Windows 11 PCs starting at $499.99 are now at Best Buy. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
The Other Side, released September 6, 2013, hit number 5 in Australia, number 8 on the US Heatseekers charts, and number 43 on the Billboard 200. There were 3 singles off of this one: The Ocean, Lonely Girl, and Come Home. So your thoughts on this disc?
Yeah, this one was an interesting one by comparison, because the other ones I felt like immediately I was grabbed. And this one, it kind of was a little bit of a slower burn for me, if I'm being completely honest. Hell and Back, I did like the cool lyrics about feeling the heaviest rain, go to hell and back, all that stuff. It's got a good drum pattern in the pre-chorus that I was really interested in. But beyond that, it was a little bit later on in this album, Jason, that I was really struck by some of these songs.
Yeah, no, this one, it definitely doesn't kick off right away. I did have The Ocean and Don't Wish and Hell and Back on my short list, as well as You Don't Owe Me Anything. I should also point out that there's a Japanese bonus track, Breakdown, which also featured Benji Madden. So, again, bringing in the guest appearances off this one. I found with this album that whereas the previous full length and then the EPs, you had a ton of just raw, ferocious energy in the riffs and the drums and everything. And I found it with this album, it's almost like the focus turned to, well, the riffs are still good and the energy is still good, but I found the storytelling and the lyrics really started to shine on this one.
I would absolutely agree with that. I think that was something that, as I go through my notes here, it's mostly about the vocals, if I'm being honest, the vocals, and then the songwriting. Like I said, I mean, Hell and Back was one that I thought the lyrics were great. You Don't Owe Me Anything, beautiful piano at the opening. It's a really great song, and it's hidden all the way at the bottom, Jason. Like, that was something for me where I was just kind of like, as the album progressed, you could really see the compositions were getting so much more sort of detailed, not necessarily like, and I think that was the case a lot with Paramore too, where it was like the opening there, 2005, All We Know Is Falling. Like, that one is like, you're just the guitars and like rah, all that stuff. Yeah. And then you get to 2009 and it's like, okay, like we've got that still, like with Brand New Eyes, we got that. We've also got a little bit more of that sort of fine tuning on the entire package. And I think that's where we're at with Tonight Alive in this album.
So what is your pick off of this disc?
So I kind of maneuvered around it, but yeah. So You Don't Owe Me Anything was on my short list. My pick was the one right before that, Say Please, because goodness gracious, it's got a great hook. If you want to break me, I'm already on my knees. I vibe heavy with this song. I love it. The melody and the hook is just, it's earwormy. Like, it's very, very earwormy. So this was one for me where, yeah, it was a little bit of a slower burn, because I think I was kind of expecting it, like you said, Jason, where it was going to be raw, it was going to be ferocious, it was going to be, we're coming right out swinging. And it kind of did that, but it wasn't necessarily at the level of the previous two, at least for me. This one was a bit of a slower burn to get to what I wanted out of this. And once we got there, I think the last 2 songs of this album, far down on the list a little bit, but still, those last two, are extraordinary. Like, great songs. I loved them both, and it was very hard to choose between them. But yes, I ended up going with Say Please.
Yeah, no, this album definitely lands the plane quite nicely, but I'm going almost like kind of smack dab in the middle here. I'm going with track 5, The Other Side. And I know we've talked about a lot of comparisons to Paramore, of course, for obvious reasons. But here I found we were kind of getting more onto the Avril Lavigne side of lyrical storytelling. Like, I will admit that even to this day, and I did this when I was like a teenager, because I was one of those guys that would rush home at the end of the school day and just plop myself on the couch with a bag of chips and a can of pop and just watch much music in the music videos, right? I was, because it was the best of both worlds for me. I loved TV and I loved music, and all of a sudden you have a channel here that just plays all the music videos. So you damn right, I was going to watch much music in and out incessantly. But when I was like on the bus going to school and stuff like that, if I was kind of sitting by myself, I would just pop on my headphones and pop my cassette in. Yeah, I said cassette. I'm that freaking old. And Should have bought it with my freaking Canadian Tire money, but still. But I would often close my eyes and try to envision what, if there was no video made for the song, what a video would kind of look like. The other side definitely has that visual storytelling aspect to it. Like I haven't even watched the to see if there was a video for this. It wasn't released as a single, so I'm highly doubting that there was, right? Not always are singles or do videos associate with singles, but it's one of those things where it's like, I love the visual storytelling on this. This is why I think that, and you're going to hear it in the next album, the transition of the Tonight Alive sound really kind of kicks off to this point. But again, that's kind of the Paramore pattern as well, right? You were talking about earlier that those early albums were raw and energy, and then it became a much more diverse sound as you got to the later couple of albums for Paramore. So obviously, as songwriters grow, their styles change. It's no longer about necessarily pumping the crowd. It's about telling the story. It's about creating a musical visual with the lyrics and the music. This is where I think Tonight Alive was definitely starting at this point.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that, because at a certain point, like, as much as obviously like they had honed their craft and they had like incredible songs off of the first two, and this album included in that, it's kind of nice though that you have that little bit of the songs kind of blend together a little bit when it's kind of like one after the other, and you have the drums and the guitar, and like you kind of know what you're gonna get out of them more or less. When you get a little bit more of like, you got piano in the mix, you got some strings sprinkled in there, like you have the synthy keyboard almost, like, those are things that it's like that adds layers to it, that it's like, okay, now we're really getting into a different sound that it is nice. When then the contrast of like later albums where they go back to the raw, like that's kind of a nicer sort of, you get a bit of a palette, you get a bit of everything, right?
Yeah. But I mean, and I don't know if this is a subconscious choice or not, or if it is actually a conscious choice. I have no idea. I'm not in Tonight Alive. I couldn't be able to tell you. But I mean, it's one of those things where when you think about it, when you start out, you're probably an opening set, or you're earlier on the day in the festival. So your set is probably about 30 minutes, right? Yeah. Maybe 45, depending on if you're a full-on opening act or if it's a festival set and you're kind of midday kind of thing. So you don't have to necessarily hold back. You can just go 4 on the floor, full throttle all the way through the set and just rock your way through it. But I mean, this album hit number 5 in Australia, which means they're probably getting bigger tours. They're probably headlining their own local tours, which means that your set's going to be about an hour 15, an hour 20 kind of thing, maybe an hour and a half. So you have to pace yourself. You can't just go full on energy, especially with the energy of some of these earlier songs. You can't go full energy, for an hour and a half straight. You'll die. Basically. Maybe this is just me saying it because of my advanced years, but still, it's one of those things where it's like you pace yourself through the set, right? And maybe that's a subconscious thing happening in the writing here, but I think you're going to hear it more in these later albums.
Absolutely. Got to get Jenna some herbal tea or something to really, that voice would be strained if they kept going at the pace they were.
Right. Limitless, released March 4th, 2016, hit number 6 in Australia, number 1 on the UK rock and metal charts, and number 12 on the US indie album charts. 4 singles off of this one: Human Interaction, To Be Free, Drive, and How Does It Feel? And we are full on, I feel, with this album into singer-songwriter band mode, and it's a much more mid-tempo, but still very lush recording.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, this is one that, again, for a different reason, Jason, it grabs you right away, because when you're listening to this in sort of in sequence of releases, and then you get to this point and you're like, well, something's happened here. There's something going on here. And I love it. I love it. It's fantastic.
All right. So what's your short list and what'd you go with?
Well, I think right out of the gate, shortlisted, I have To Be Free, because I just had to remark it was just such a cool sound evolution to hear. The drums building back up over the bridge. But again, like you said, it's like that, just dial back the tempo a little bit, breathe a little bit easier. Oxygen has a really cool hook. I love that one. I mean, Everywhere has great strings. The Greatest, same thing. I ended up going with Drive. My note is, oh, hell yeah. because you get the keyboard, you get the synthy sounds, especially during the hook, and then you get great vocals as always. Like, this was one that I was just overall, Jason, the entire package of this album, it was really difficult for me to separate songs from each other. Drive was the one I ended up going with, but again, it was just such a nice evolution to hear, just the way that we're kind of progressing along with them now, where it's a juxtaposition from all of the previous. And I think, as you pointed out, they were kind of teasing this a little bit. It's kind of in that same way of like, and again, obviously, I said I was going to stop doing this, Jason, but I guess I can't. 2013, the self-titled Paramore album, heading into After Laughter, and the parts of that self-titled album, you could hear it like, okay, we're going in a really different direction here. And I think there were aspects of the previous album that kind of teased that this is where we were going. But even then, like, I don't know that I expected it to this extent. I definitely didn't when I started listening to the album. Like, I didn't know that this is where we were going. But once we got there, man, I'm along for the ride. It's great.
Yeah. I had How Does It Feel, Power of One, and The Greatest on my short list. And holy crap, I'm glad you mentioned The Greatest, because this is a fantastic way to end the album. I think this is something that Tonight Alive does really, really well, is that they just a monster track to wrap it up. Like, I don't know of any band with this kind of discography where it is full energy a lot of the way through that just lands the plane so nicely. And The Greatest, I thought The Greatest was going to be my pick off of this, because I know I had heard that song on my, my liked songs, because I just took the entire album and plunked it onto my liked songs. Then I hit random, and every now and then it comes up. But the thing about Waves is that this is one of those songs that literally feels like you want to, stand at the top of a freaking cliff and sing your heart out. Like, yeah. And I think this is why, like, Waves and The Greatest, they both have very similar feels, very, for lack of a better term, like an open field kind of vibe with some of these songs. Like picture that shot from The Sound of Music of Julie Andrews, like in the middle of the cornfield singing, and the camera is sweeping. That's what this album feels like at some points, is that single shot. I'm not saying it sounds like The Sound of Music. I'm just saying it sounds like that sweeping camera pan shot that just looks so fantastic and is in like almost every single, history of movies montage.
Yeah. And I think another thing, Jason, and I think it was something that, like, I think every singer benefits from this in some way, but like when you kind of like strip it down just a little bit more, and they didn't strip it down, like, I'm not going to say that it's not like an acoustic album or anything, but like when you kind of take away a little bit of that ferocity from the guitars and the drums and everything else, it kind of gives Jenna a little bit more like this. Her voice stands out more when you kind of lower the temperature a little bit. And I think that, like, the sound benefits from that, because what we'd heard from this point, obviously she's got incredible raw power in her voice. But then when you kind of get to a song like Waves, get to this entire album, you're at a point where you've lowered the temperature enough that she stands out even more. And I think that's something that Paramore got to at a certain point, where you kind of lower everything a little bit. And the product is incredible, because you're really showcasing one of the strengths of your ensemble, which is got an incredible lead singer. And Jenna is, I think, unbelievable on this album. And I think it in part is because you kind of take everything down a notch or two, and then she gets to be front and center even more than she was.
Yeah. I think if you're looking at a way to kind of describe Jenny's vocal evolution through these albums, the earlier albums, with the ferocity and with the energy and with the live vibe, it's like she's singing at the crowd. And here, as the songwriting and the musical composition matures, she's singing to the crowd. And it's not as aggressive in your face. It's very much, before she's screaming, she's singing to one person, and here she's singing to everybody. That's kind of like this is why I say it feels more wide open, because it feels like her voice is filling a room as opposed to filling a smaller confined space.
Absolutely.
Underworld, released January 12th, 2018, the last album from Tonight Alive, but also features appearances from Corey Taylor from Slipknot and Lynn Gunn from Paris. Hit number 1 on the US Indie Store album sales charts. number 3 on the UK rock and metal charts, and number 11 in Australia. There were 3 singles off of this one: Temple, Crack My Heart, and Disappear. Now, a little background here. So I remember this is when I first discovered Tonight Alive, because I guess they were going on a tour. I never got a chance to see that tour. They were going on a tour, and one of the dates was in Canada. So there was a spot on the radio promoting this tour, and there was a snippet of their song Temple in that promo. And I was like, who is this band, and why have I never heard of them? Like, right off a very small snippet of one song from a band I'd never heard of, I had to go and deep dive them. That's how good Temple was. But yet it's not my pick. Your thoughts on this final disc from them?
Yeah, like, I mean, I think, again, this is one of those ones that I had a little bit more of a wait to get to what I wanted to get, but the entire package of this is phenomenal. Like, I think that's one thing that I will say, like, Burning On, the lyric, beauty lies in that which is not safe. I kind of maybe butchered the sort of delivery of that line, Jason, but that's a really great lyric, and it's buried in the middle of the song and only said the one time. Like, they don't go back to that during the bridge or something, which might be for the best, because it is a little bit difficult to say, or at least I had a difficulty in saying it. Of course, she didn't. She's magnificent. But yeah, Burning On was a great one. My Underworld at the very end, and that's the one with Corey Taylor, as you pointed out. And that one, again, like, it's just kind of nice to hear throughout this catalog, you get to points where you have guest vocalists, and her voice just matches like everybody, basically. Like, she just has such a great voice that anybody else hopping on, like, I just love that song at the end. I went with For You. It's a really sweet song. I just like the way that it's built. That's all that I have written for that one. I don't really know what else to say about it. It was just one that I enjoyed when I listened to it. Didn't really have anything to point out from it. It's just a really sweet tune. That was the one that I went with. But yeah, there's so much on this. And again, like, Burning On and My Underworld were really right there. Crack My Heart, I like too. Really solid composition. But for me, I went with For You.
When you're right, you're right. It's actually my pick as well.
There we go.
I love that I don't have to say anything about it, because you already said everything about it. But yeah, I found at this point that the mid-tempo vibes that we're getting on these songs and on these discs really fits the maturity that has developed over this 8-year span of albums. I did have Book of Love, In My Dreams, Temple, and Just For Now on my short list. Funny, I didn't actually pick any of the duet tracks that were on here. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I just need to hear Jenna McDougall actually just sing all the way through. But I mean, it's one of those things where, yeah, I mean, it showcases her lyrics and her singing so well when, like you said, when the band pulls back a little bit and opens up the audio spectrum, Jenna's able to kind of go in and take over and fill the space with seriously solid, lush vocals. All right. So it's only a 5-album run. So not a big stretch and not a lot to pick from here, but please remind our listeners what your picks are from those 5 discs, and if there can only be one Tonight Alive song, what's it going to be?
All right. So off of Consider This, I went with Wasting Away. Off of What Are You So Scared Of, I went with Let It Land. Off of The Other Side, I went with Say Please. Off of Limitless, I went with Drive. And off of Underworld, I went with For You. And man, Jason, this was one where, you know, when I've been on this show, save for the Melanie Doan episode, which was one that you put me on, you know, I have an idea of, well, first of all, I suggest the band or the artist, and I know which kind of direction I'm going to go. So that kind of helps. But in these cases, it's so fascinating because I'm flying blind in a lot of ways. Like, I don't know, I don't have any preconceived notions of where I'm going to go, what I'm going to say about any particular track. And this was one where all 5 of the songs that I picked, like, I didn't really have, like, there's no edge really for one over the other. It just kind of became a thing of, like, they're all really good. I don't really know where exactly I'm going to go with this. So I ended up going with Say Please, because that is the one that up until 30 minutes before we did this episode, Jason, that was the one that was most earwormy and repeating in my head. And it was between that and Let It Land in the end. And both of those are earwormy, and both of those were sort of like existing in my brain. And they're so like new to me that I don't even really know really the songs in like such great detail, but it's just the hooks that like just kind of like stick in there a little bit. So I ended up going with Say Please, but it was so close. Like it was like any of the 5 could have been easily my selection. They weren't just songs that I liked off of the individual records. They were songs that I just really liked overall. And I had a very difficult time in making a case for any one specifically. So Say Please in the end is what got me there. And so I'm going to go with that one.
All right. So off of Consider This, I went with Wasting Away. From 2011's What Are You So Scared Of, I went with Welcome. From The Other Side, I went with the title track The Other Side. From 2016's Limitless, I went with Waves. And from Underworld, I went with For You. And holy crap. You would think with only 5 songs, this be easy, right? It's not. It's not. Freaking not. Because you're right. Like, it feels like one hell of a fantastic EP to have 5 songs this solid all the way through. There are no slower, weak spots in this discography. So I'm going to go with For You. And I think it's only because of a recency bias, because I do have that in my liked songs, and it gets played occasionally in my voice. I think I actually have this on I have one of those like all the feels kind of playlists, and just for songs for a mood kind of thing, right? And this, I'm pretty sure this is in there as well, because holy crap, it's a good one. But it's one of those things where it's just like, I could listen to any of these 5 songs any day of the week, and I'd be a happy camper, because the Tonight Alive discography is that freaking good. So, dear listeners, if this is your kind of vibe, like that pop punk ferocious energy, but also solid songwriting and lyrics, check it out. It's not a deep discography, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
These are definitely songs that are getting added to my playlist. So thank you, Jason, for your service and introducing me to this great band from the land down under. And I'm not going to do the accent, Jason, because, oh, God, it'd be really bad. It'd be super insulting to our beautiful listeners from Australia. So I won't do that.
Yeah, I'm not even going to drink a Foster's. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to. All right, Joseph, thank you so much for this. Now, please remind our listeners where they can find you out there on the interwebs.
Well, you can find me on the Instagram at JosephWhalen17. You can find me on the Twitter machine. I guess it's called X now. I still call it the Twitter machine at JoeWhalen19.
All right, dude. Thank you so much for this. And to you, our dear listeners, by the way, if you want to hear the songs we were talking about, the playlists that Joseph and I both made are on our website, notthatbadcast.com. But if you want to suggest a show for us to do, hit us up on social media at OnlyOneCast or send us an email from our website. But until next time, thank you guys so much. He's Joseph. I'm Jason. You guys are awesome. This is There Can Only Be One, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.